Hey Reddit, I never thought I'd be that guy writing on here, but life really has a way of throwing you curveballs when you least expect it. I've been married for 7 years to my wife. Let's call her Anna. For most of that time, I honestly thought we had a pretty solid relationship. Not perfect, of course, marriage never is, but we had routines, inside jokes, little traditions that made me feel like we were in it for the long haul. But over the last few months, things started to feel off. Nothing dramatic at first, just little things you'd probably miss if you weren't paying attention. She started staying later at work, claiming she had deadlines or team meetings. She got way more protective of her phone, like she'd tilt it away when texting or suddenly put it face down if I walked into the room. And her tone with me? Sharper. Like every little thing I did annoyed her. At first, I thought maybe it was stress. She'd always been ambitious, and I figured maybe she was just under pressure at work. But the distance between us kept growing, and I couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. And that's where this whole mess started. The first real gut punch moment for me happened about 3 months ago. Anna had always been a night owl, but suddenly she was staying up really late, like 2 to 3 a.m., scrolling on her phone in the living room. When I asked what she was doing, she snapped, "Why are you so nosy? Can't I just relax without you hovering?" That stung, because I wasn't accusing her of anything. I was literally just half asleep, wondering why the glow of her screen was keeping me awake. But after that, I noticed she started sleeping in the guest room more often, saying she didn't want to wake me with her late-night habits. Another weird thing, she started dressing differently. Anna's always cared about her appearance, but now she was putting on makeup just to go to the grocery store or wearing perfume when she left for coffee with coworkers. I remember joking once, "Who are you trying to impress at Safeway?" And she gave me this deadpan look and said, "God, you're so insecure." It's embarrassing. That word, embarrassing, stuck with me. It was like she flipped the script and made me feel like I was the crazy one for even noticing. Looking back, those were the cracks starting to show. But I still didn't know just how bad it was going to get. The real red flags started piling up fast after that. One night, Anna left her phone on the counter while she was showering. Normally, I wouldn't even touch it. I'm not the snoop through your partner's phone type. But it lit up with a text preview that read, "Can't stop thinking about last night." My stomach dropped. My first instinct was denial. Maybe it's one of her girlfriends joking around. Maybe I'm misreading this. But the contact name wasn't one of her friends. It was just saved as Ben Work. I didn't open it. I just stared at the screen until it went dark, heart pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat. When she came out of the shower, wrapped in a towel, she saw me standing there and froze for just a split second before casually saying, "What? Why are you looking at me like that?" I didn't mention the text. I chickened out. Instead, I mumbled something about being tired and went to bed. But that night, I barely slept. My brain kept replaying that message over and over, like a song stuck on repeat. The next day, she was all sunshine and small talk, like nothing was wrong. That almost made it worse. A week later, the universe basically shoved the truth in my face. Anna had asked me to print out some documents from her email because her laptop was acting up. She gave me her login info without hesitation, which almost made me second-guess myself again. Like, why would she hand me her email if she's hiding something? But while I was in her inbox, I noticed a folder tucked away at the bottom labeled Receipts. Out of habit, I clicked it, expecting, I don't know, Amazon orders or travel confirmations. Instead, I found a string of hotel reservation confirmations. Multiple nights, all booked under her name, with check-ins that lined up perfectly with the nights she'd worked late. My chest tightened, but it got worse. In the attachments were scanned receipts, dinners for two, wine bottles, room service charges. My hands were literally shaking as I scrolled through. It felt like I'd been punched in the gut and had all the air knocked out of me. I didn't even realize she was standing behind me until she slammed the laptop shut and said, "Why are you going through my private stuff?" Her tone was defensive, sharp, but I could see the panic in her eyes. That was the moment I knew. And yet, even then, she tried to spin it. I'll never forget that moment. My voice cracked when I asked, "Who are you meeting at hotels, Anna?" It came out more like a plea than an accusation. She didn't even hesitate. She rolled her eyes and said, "Oh my God, not this again. You are so paranoid. Those are for client meetings. You wouldn't understand because you don't work in corporate." client meetings, at night, in hotel rooms, with wine and room service for two. I called her out on it. Don't lie to me. I saw the receipts. This isn't business, Anna. And instead of calming down, she doubled down. She started yelling about how I never trusted her, how I was acting controlling and trying to ruin her career. Then she threw in, if you don't stop, I'll just leave. Maybe I deserve someone who actually supports me instead of accusing me of crap. That hit me hard. Not because I believed her, but because of how casually she said it. Like our entire marriage was disposable, like threatening to leave was just another card in her deck. That it was the first time I realized. She wasn't even trying to deny it convincingly. She was just trying to gaslight me into silence. After that confrontation, I couldn't stop thinking about all the little things that didn't add up over the past few months. Every late at work night, every meeting with a friend, every random perfume spritz or mysterious lipstick stain, it all started clicking into place that I decided to dig a little deeper. Not through her phone or email this time, just paying attention. And then it hit me like a ton of bricks. She had been leaving receipts, tickets, little notes, anything that could maybe be explained, but they piled up in a pattern. I even found a credit card statement showing payments to a spa I'd never heard of, always around the same nights she was working late. So I confronted her again, and she got even worse. She laughed, and said, "You're insane. Do you really think I'd cheat on you? God, you make everything about you. Maybe you need therapy, not me." When I asked again, point blank, if she was seeing someone else, she snapped, "Fine. Maybe I am. But it's not like you care about me anymore either. You've been distant and boring. Maybe this is what we needed." It was like she flipped the entire story so that I was the bad guy for discovering her betrayal. That's when I realized she wasn't going to admit it easily, and there was no sugarcoating this. After that second confrontation, I felt like I was living in a nightmare I couldn't wake up from. The anger hit first, hot, searing, and relentless. I wanted to scream, throw things, shake her until she admitted the truth. But the anger soon curdled into this heavy, sinking sadness that made it hard to even get out of bed that I kept replaying. Every memory, every conversation, every little sign I'd brushed off. The laughter we shared, the late-night talks, the plans we'd made. Did any of it matter? Or had it all been a lie? I felt naive, stupid, and humiliated all at once. Sleeping in the guest room became unbearable. Just the sound of her brushing her teeth, humming, laughing in the kitchen. It felt like salt in an open wound. And yet, part of me still wanted to talk to her, to reason, to hear her say she was sorry, but that part was shrinking fast. Every lie she told, every blame she tried to pin on me, chipped away at it. By the end of that week, I couldn't even look at her without my stomach turning. It was like I was mourning someone who was still living in the house. It'd be why the time the weekend rolled around, I knew I couldn't keep pretending everything was fine. The receipts, the lies, the sneaky texts, it all painted a picture I couldn't ignore. I kept telling myself maybe there was some twisted explanation, but deep down, I already knew. I spent hours pacing the apartment, replaying our interactions. Her laughter, her casual dismissals, the way she gaslit me during confrontations, it all pointed to one undeniable truth. Anna had been cheating, and she wasn't remotely remorseful about it. I tried talking to a few friends, carefully avoiding specifics but hinting at my suspicion. Their reactions mirrored my gut feeling. Dude, if you already know and she's lying, it's not going to get better. Face it. Finally, I sat on the couch, staring at the wall, and admitted to myself that this marriage, at least the version I believed in, was gone. The person I married wasn't the person sitting across from me anymore, and I had to accept that before I could even think about next steps. It was painful, humiliating, and terrifying, but it was also liberating in a strange, awful way. After a few days of stewing in my own thoughts, I decided I couldn't keep tiptoeing around this. I needed the truth out in the open. No lies, no excuses, no gaslighting. I asked Anna to sit down with me in the living room that evening. She flopped onto the couch, scrolling on her phone, and said, "This again? What now?" Her tone was sharp, almost mocking, like she was daring me to bring it up. I took a deep breath. "Anna, I know about the hotel nights. I know about Ben. I need you to be honest with me. Right now." For a moment, she froze, her phone slipping onto her lap. Then came the classic deflection. Ben? Who's Ben? You're imagining things. You're so paranoid it's ridiculous. I don't know why you can't just trust me. When I pushed harder, naming dates and referencing receipts, her facade cracked, but only slightly. She sighed dramatically and said, "Fine. Yes, but you should have known. You've been so distant, so boring, so predictable. Maybe I needed something exciting. Don't act like you're innocent either." That last part stung the most. Not because it was true or false, but because she tried to turn my discovery into my fault. And in that moment, all the denial, all the hope that maybe she'd just been stressed or distracted, evaporated. I was done hoping. I had the truth, ugly and raw, and I had to decide what to do with it. After that confrontation, I was a mess. I went through every emotion in a single afternoon: anger, disbelief, betrayal, and then a crushing sadness that left me hollow. Every time I looked at Anna, my chest tightened. I could feel the heat rising in my face just thinking about all the nights she'd lied to me, all the times she gaslit me, all the excuses she threw my way. Sleep became impossible. Even when I tried, I was haunted by mental replays of her lies, her laughter, her dismissive tones. It wasn't just that she cheated. It was how effortlessly she tried to make it my fault, how she twisted reality to suit herself. And yet, amid the storm of anger, there was this small, quiet part of me that was starting to understand something. I couldn't control her actions. I couldn't make her feel guilt or remorse if she wasn't capable of it. And trying to force the truth or force an apology was only feeding her game. That realization didn't make it easier, but it was the first step toward clarity. After the initial storm of anger, the exhaustion set in. I found myself sitting alone, in the dark, staring at our wedding photos, wondering how the woman I thought I knew could betray me like this. The memories felt tainted now. Every laugh, every inside joke, every promise suddenly seemed like it had a hidden layer I'd never seen. That I started journaling, just to get my thoughts out. Writing helped me name my feelings: hurt, disbelief, loneliness, and an aching sadness that I didn't know how to shake. I kept asking myself the same questions over and over. Was I enough? Did she ever love me like I loved her? Some days, I couldn't even bring myself to look at her. Other days, seeing her in the kitchen, laughing at something trivial, felt like salt in a wound. The contrast between the life we appeared to have and the reality I now knew was unbearable. But amidst the sadness, a small spark of self-preservation began to grow. I realized I couldn't stay stuck in this cycle forever. I had to start thinking about what I wanted, what I deserved, because she clearly wasn't going to give it to me. After weeks of emotional chaos, I reached a point where I knew I had to make a choice. I couldn't keep living in that apartment, pretending everything was normal, and I couldn't keep swinging between hoping she'd change and sinking deeper into despair. That I sat her down one night, calm but resolute. "Anna, I can't do this anymore. I can't live in a marriage where I'm being lied to and manipulated. I need to step back." Of course, she tried to twist it. "You're overreacting. This is just a phase. You're making a big deal out of nothing." But I had seen through every lie, every excuse, every manipulation. This wasn't a phase. It was a betrayal, plain and simple. That I made it clear. I wasn't angry just to be angry. I was protecting myself. I wasn't going to punish her, but I also couldn't let her keep hurting me. I decided to move out temporarily, giving myself space to think and grieve, and giving her a chance to reflect, though I knew deep down she probably wouldn't. It was the hardest decision I've ever made, but also the one that finally gave me a sense of control over my life again. Once I moved out, the silence was deafening, but also necessary. For the first time in months, I could think without feeling like my heart was being squeezed in a vice. The first few days were brutal. I oscillated between grief, anger, and moments of numbness. But slowly, I started to reclaim myself. I leaned on friends more than ever, talking openly about the betrayal, letting the raw pain out instead of bottling it up. I started exercising again, going for long runs that let me scream into the wind, mentally unloading months of anxiety. I journaled, relentlessly, processing not just what happened, but why it hurt so deeply and what I could learn from it. Therapy became a lifeline. Talking to someone neutral helped me unpack the gaslighting, the betrayal, and the guilt I kept trying to internalize. I realized her actions were not a reflection of my worth. but of her inability to be honest or committed. That was a tough pill to swallow, but a crucial one. It wasn't fast, and it wasn't easy, but slowly, I started to feel a sense of self-respect return. I wasn't just surviving. I was beginning to remember who I was outside of this marriage. After a couple of months of space and reflection, I realized I needed a final conversation. Not to argue, not to plead, but to truly close this chapter. I met Anna once more, this time with calm determination. I said, I've accepted what happened. I can't change the past, but I can choose my future. I'm moving forward without you. She tried her usual tactics, blame, sarcasm, manipulation, but I had learned not to engage. I listened, but didn't let her rewrite the story. She made a few last gaslighting comments, but I stayed grounded. By the time I walked away, I didn't feel anger boiling or the urge to fight. I just felt free. It wasn't perfect. I still had scars, and I knew it would take time to fully heal. But that moment gave me clarity. I was no longer a hostage to her lies or her actions. I could finally start rebuilding my life on my own terms. Looking back, I never imagined I'd be in this position, discovering a spouse's betrayal, facing lies, and feeling like the ground beneath me had disappeared. It was brutal, painful, and humiliating, but it also taught me lessons I wouldn't trade. No matter how harsh they were. I learned the importance of trusting my instincts. If something felt off, it usually was. I learned that no matter how much you love someone, you can't control their choices or make them feel guilt. I learned that preserving my own mental health sometimes means making the hardest choices, even if it hurts in the short term. For anyone going through something similar, don't ignore the signs. Protect yourself. Reach out to friends or professionals. And remember, betrayal says more about the person cheating than the person being cheated on. Your worth isn't defined by their actions. I'm not saying I'm fully healed yet, but I'm moving forward, stronger and more self-aware. And someday, I hope I can look back at this chapter as the moment I took my life back.